Uh, it says, and I'm reading this out. The it says COCOMI has issued a press statement expressing the intention to provoke unrest around LOC. This is Zomi Chief Association. We hereby convey a stern warning to COCOMI: do not cross the line of control. We advise you to remain within the boundaries of Kangri Park and respect territorial integrity of our tribal ancestral land. I mean, so there is one land called Manipur. I mean to say, Rami, I know Rami made a point in context of Lord Krishna, but there is also the territorial, I would make it a constitutional point. There is one state of Manipur. Rami spoke in that context of how we imagine our homeland to be, how we imagine our ancestral land to be. I'm just speaking from a constitutional point of view. There is no LOC. I mean, so Brijesh is right, avoidable है, लेकिन वो LOC तो नहीं हो सकती. मेरा ये मानना है डॉक्टर कोते. You can't have an LOC.
I'm not saying about the LOC. You are talking about lifting the blockage and the buffer zones which is there, right?
Yeah, so I'm when just saying that the press release which came out, it says LOC. So I was just saying, I mean to say, why do you use words like that? We are all, you are sociologists, historians, I am a journalist. We live in this multi-social media verse where narratives are built and then people imagine those narratives as facts, and the fiction become facts. There is no LOC. It's one Manipur.
Yeah, the LOC which is referred in the context of, let's say, if you contextualize it, the kind of LOC which has been always between India and Pakistan. So it's the situation in that it kind of reflects the gravity of the situation over there. If the press release at all use that line of control, the buffer zone as a line of control. So here, that is what something that needs to be respected in terms of when there is so much of grave danger which is felt by the minority tribal groups. And in terms of still, refusing, objecting to lifting the blockage, you are compromising on the lives of the basic, on the lives of the people. There are shortage of life-saving drugs. There are shortage of food. People may say that people living in Churachandpur district who are living in the Lamka town may be getting supply from Mizoram or from Aizawl. But what about people living in Tengnopal or in Moreh?
Dr. Gute, that day I had a discussion, and the reason why I'm asking is, we and Brijesh criticized कि गलत था कि जो वहाँ those were Kuki families living, they should have been provided more security. They should not have been ferried away to safe areas. The job of the state should have been to give them more security. But if Maitis want to go back to their land in hill areas, they should be allowed to go back there. It also belongs to them. किसने कह दिया the valley only belongs to Imphal? Maitis can also live wherever they want to, isn't it, Dr. Prasanna ji? Professor?
Yes. You see, I mean, you should not read much into that expression LOC, though LOC is a militarized expression, and such an expression has no place in a kind of a flare-up also between two societies who have fallen apart for some historical reasons and contextual reasons at this moment. But what is at stake is maintenance of peace, and in order to maintain peace, a certain kind of a distance, a certain temporary separation is advocated by security agencies and by the police and other state-funded agencies. Now these agencies have this fragile task of maintaining peace. It will become impossible for them if one side is just allowed to run over the other side. Now, given that situation, the whole press release and counter press release, etc. has come. One has to look at the ground reality all the time. That will guide us where we are. And at this moment, you can see even few days back, a few Kuki families had to be removed from Imphal Valley. Similarly, you mentioned that Meiteis who want to return to Lamka or to Churachandpur should have this right to return. Actually, this requires now an institutional framework, a framework of reparation, where the affected parties, affected families, affected communities are taken due care of and their rights are legally granted. Now, Supreme Court has pronounced, and it has left the task to the state government and other central government agencies. But I don't see use of a concept of reparation, which is a must in this kind of a situation. A concept like non-refoulement really needs to be brought in so that people who are already victimized are not re-victimized. Now, this entire fragile situation of running over into each other, and using guns, that to illegally stockpile gun and other kinds of arms, etc., is still continuing in a very hideous manner, in a secretive manner. Now state has to enhance its surveillance machinery. And there the
Okay.
question of neutrality also has come into picture. Some people are saying Assam Rifles is not neutral. So if central government forces are not neutral, you see the whole idea of Indian state and Indian democracy, where we have a federal structure, we have a central government which is vicariously responsible for maintaining security. If they are doubted, and they are given a kind of a allegation. Similarly, on the other side, one has seen videos where certain kind of undesirable elements are moving with the state police forces. So what is happening? It's a complete subversion of the norms of security that has happened. Now we need to restore the basic security mechanism and human security as well. We need to restore confidence. We need to rebuild those camps where a lot of support system needs to be given. A lot of medicine, food have to be supplied, which Supreme Court has pronounced a few days back.
Okay.
So all this basic work needs to be carried out. Without that, people are talking about LOC still, which is highly concernful. I would say that people should look at well-being of each other instead of provoking each other and trying to victimize each other.
You know,
That kind of
today,
situation should have come to an
okay.
end now. Yeah.
Today I
Yeah,
can say
sure.
that
Kartikeya.
Manipur police did a good job. Today police did a good job. There were hundreds of trucks that were being mobilized all across. The reports were there in the morning, and at number of places, people had come out. But even then, to organize it, to ask them to go back, I think they had a very tough situation on their end. Rami, if I'm audible to you, I understand that the weapons are an issue, but then ultimately there are people who want to go outside the valley. Those issues also needs to be addressed, isn't it?
Kartikeya, absolutely. I've had my finger up for so long because I find a lot of the things that have been said uh, making the situation sound so simple that it isn't. When somebody uses the word LOC, we have a problem on our hands.
I have a
This is
problem.
not. Yeah, this is not the kind of language that is acceptable, either to the state of Manipur, to the larger population in Manipur, tribals or non-tribals. The people who are giving out notifications like this certainly are not representatives of all the tribal community. So this is a huge narrative building exercise, and this is what brings about suspicion in people who are observing this conflict, in policymakers and other such educated people's minds, that there's a larger agenda to this, because nobody uses words like this or makes comparisons to the India-Pakistan line of control. I mean, we are, this is not the kind, this is also provocation in my opinion, and this is also leading to a very dangerous dialogue that we cannot afford to entertain whatsoever. So I really lodge my strong objections to the use of LOC or anybody defending the use of LOC. This is not as simple as it looks. This is leading to something bigger, and which is what we've always spoken about, is the territorial integrity of not just Manipur, but it is the territorial integrity of India, and we need to look at it from that point of view. Number two, when we talk about people giving us stamps of approval, I again have a serious objection. You want to give a stamp of approval to the Editors Guild, which has had 4 FIRs put on it, simply because it sides with one party and doesn't side with the other. You want to give a stamp of approval to international organizations because they put this colonial sponsored lens of a majority versus minority, one religion versus the other. When
No,
we
I
know
had a huge objection to that. I did a special program on it yesterday when they said Meiti who are primarily Hindus and Kukis who are primarily Christians. I said this, there was no point. Why was that mentioned?
Kartikeya, that is exactly my point of view. When such false binaries are imposed and superimposed on communities as ancient as the Kukis, as the Meiteis, as the Nagas, the communities together should be objecting to it. They should not be in any way supporting this sort of a take. So I don't care what the United Nations says. I don't care what any international body says. I've said this on your show before. The European Union had 5 representatives. Not one, check their background, not one was an expert on tribal affairs, on the Northeast, on Manipur, let alone had ever visited India. That is the kind of support that people are wanting. I don't accept that. Number 3, we talk about, we also said that cookies were evacuated from Imphal. Of course, I don't think anybody should be evacuated or anybody should need to leave their homes, because that is really a signal of us losing control. But having said that, ITLF also complimented the forces for that swift evacuation, and their homes are guarded by security forces, ensuring that no vandalization happens. I wish this was the case in other areas as well, and that has not been the case. So I think, instead of making these sort of lopsided arguments that, we have the support of international parties, LOC is not a problem to use. I think we have to look at it from a very balanced and logical manner, that where is this heading? Is this kind of nomenclature, is this kind of labeling going to help the cause? Trust me, this usage of LOC is going to have far greater repercussions than we understand. And therefore, as seriously as we must take it, is in the same tenor how we should discuss it, not minimalize it to this much of an extent.